This versatile Ohio-born racer has been on track for 48 of his 53 years, including 2 stretches with Fast By Ferracci. Please welcome to the stage, Larry Pegram.
I'm going to put my readers on. I printed out what I wanted to say, tried to print it out big because I thought, I don't want to wear my readers. Still couldn't see it and realized nobody else here can either, so it's okay to wear readers. So first I want to say, not other than that fact that I got to race for Geraldo, I had the privilege, I'm not sure what I'm doing up here, getting mentioned with Kevin and Kenny, and Kenny, they did tell you to stand up though. I didn't know if you did or not. So I got to do that with Kenny, sorry. I went to Kenny's house many times when I was younger, and they picked on me relentlessly, believe me. So anyway, but honored just to be mentioned with this group of people. Not sure how that happened, but anyway. I want to thank everybody for coming out to honor Geraldo tonight. I want to give a little background on what Geraldo meant to me, not only in racing, but really in life. And shed some light on the man that I come to know, and kind of a behind the scenes of racing for him, and not being Doug Poland, you know, when you were racing for him, because Doug won everything, so Geraldo loved him. And I didn't win everything, but we did win some, but we didn't win enough. But you know, I'm getting older now. I'm 53 years old, and as you get older, you look back on your life and you realize. There was people in your life that were instrumental in who you become and who you are as a person, and you don't really realize that at the time. You look back and you realize that, and you know, obviously I had my father growing up who took me to all the races and really did everything he could imagine to put me into racing, and I won a lot of races as an amateur. And when I turned professional as a dirt tracker, I was 16, and then when I was 18, I'd kind of surpassed where my dad could take me, and the world brought this man, Skip Eakin, into my life. And a lot of you probably know Skip. He was Bubba Schobert's mechanic for all his championships, and was probably the best dirt track mechanic of all times, I believe. But I got to travel at 18 years old around with one of the greats, and felt like I was just learning racing from this man and learning how to work on these bikes and do all this stuff. But you know, when I look back now, I realize I was learning life from this man, and you know, you don't really realize that until sometimes it's too late. And with Skip, you know, we lost him several years ago, and I never really got to tell him how instrumental he was in my life. And then after I raced for Skip, a couple years later, I got into superbikes, actually with Skip, but then graduated to my first factory ride, and it was with Geraldo Ferracci in 1996. And, you know, I had Skip, and then I go to Geraldo, and it's 2 of the greatest, really, of all times on both fronts. And it was just a huge learning year for me. And I felt like I had this genius motorcycle person that was teaching me about racing, but what I didn't realize was, again, how much I was getting taught about life and how to. He was such a powerful man in the paddock at that time. You know, he had won the world championships, he had won the U.S. Superbike championship, and here I am, this young kid racing for him, and he had this uncanny ability to just make you feel like whatever you were saying, whatever your issue was, whoever you were, it was the most important thing at that moment. And he had the ability to teach me about life, and I didn't realize that at the time either. And you know, he could be so powerful yet so extremely gentle and show you so much kindness and love, but then yell at you the next minute. He was really like a father to me at the time, and you know, it didn't matter if he was talking to a truck driver or a world champion. He treated everyone the same, but he would yell at everyone, but he would also show love when he did it. And you know, I remember thinking he was cool. And at that time, I was obviously younger, and I remember thinking, how can this guy be cool and be that age? Now, I know how that is, because, but, I never got a chance to tell Skip how influential he was in my life. And, tonight I want to let Geraldo know how influential you were in mine. I said I was going to get through this, and I'm trying. But you were a big part of my life, and you don't know that, but you were. You taught me a lot of stuff about life. I went on to, own my own Superbike team and race for it, and I used a lot of those principles, in my life, and you taught me a lot more than racing. You taught me how to treat people and how to be a good man. I really appreciate it. Anyway, now I'm going to get into some stories real quick. So I raced for Geraldo in '96. We had a great year. We did not win a race that year. But then I got a really big contract offer from Suzuki for a 2-year deal because I had done pretty well my rookie year on his. I was racing against Miguel Duhamel and Doug Chandler, so I kept getting third. And Geraldo was not happy with me about that because he had been winning world championships and had Doug Poland before me. But he was always good to me. But anyway, 2 years later after that Suzuki deal, Geraldo and I had missed each other, and I wanted to come back in '99, and he wanted me back, and Larry was none too happy about that. He was still mad at me about going to Suzuki, but we worked out all the deals. I think it was great because the '99 season, we had Kevin Schwantz as my rider coach / manager, and we had Geraldo, and we just had one of those years. We won race, was the last time I think Michelin won a race, and Superbike, and it was just a magical season, and I'll never forget that year. It was awesome. So, and Matthew Miles had told me to tell some stories, so I got one story, maybe two here real quick. So in '96, when I was racing for Ferracci, he hired 2 young guys, myself and Sean Higbee, who was a young guy who wasn't doing quite as well in '96 as I was. And we were at a race in Miami, and this is just a typical Geraldo story. And Sean was really in, and back then, we call him now data guys, but back then I think we just called him the computer guy. So data was coming into the Superbike field, and nobody really used it because we didn't have traction control, it was your hand, and we didn't have engine brake control and all that stuff. But we did have some data that was coming off the suspension and so forth. So Sean really liked to look at the data, and we were at Miami, and I'd qualified on the pole, and it had turn 1 at Miami was like a big flat track corner. So of course with my flat track background, I was fast. And Sean had took the data to Geraldo and said, hey, I'm looking at the data here, Geraldo, and in turn 1, if I do this, I think I'm faster than Larry. And Geraldo said, hey, you know who's faster than that guy in turn 1? Nobody faster than that guy in turn 1. Maybe you be the computer guy and you don't ride the bike no more. How I always knew that. So that was one thing, and then there was another story in 1999. I raced for Ferracci again, and had a teammate, and he was falling off a lot, and Geraldo knows the guy was. He was falling off every weekend, and Geraldo was getting tired of it, and we went out for a practice somewhere, I don't remember, and I fell off, and he fell off too in the same practice. So we were in the rider lounge, and I hear Geraldo coming in the truck. Where's that? And so the kid that was racing with us, he went in the closet in the lounge and he hid in the closet. And Geraldo opened the door. He said, where are you at? And I go, I don't know where he is. He still doesn't know that. I told you just now. So he was hiding in the closet the whole time. And but that was a Geraldo story. But he would do that, and then he would put his arm around you and tell you, don't worry, it's okay. So anyway, last year I rode the race at Mid-Ohio in the Super Sport. I still have some fun doing that. And Geraldo was there, and he saw me in my leathers, and he was surprised, and he said, what do you do? And that's Geraldo for, are you doing on a motorcycle? You're way too old. So I explained to him, listen, I'm just here to ride, I'm having fun, don't worry, I'm not gonna push too hard. Then he watched me on track. He came back to me, he goes, you okay? I can tell, you're not pushing so hard. So I felt terrible. But anyway, so I just wanted to take the chance tonight again, Geraldo, to thank you for who you are and who you helped me become as a man, and you're such a great leader in the paddock, and you always showed everybody such kindness and love, and I'll be eternally grateful to you. Thank you.